Welcome everyone to TFL Season 5 Round 4 here at France. And for this weekend, we have a new race format. We have 3 races this season where we'll have a sprint race and a sprint qualifying. And first thing that will happen this weekend, this race day, is that we will have a one-shot qualifying for pole position. After that one-shot qualifying, we'll have a 50% race around Le Castellet, and then a reverse top 10 25% race. So that means we'll have 3 sessions starting with a one-shot qualifying. And if you don't know what a one-shot qualifying is, you'll only have one lap, all simultaneously driven by all drivers who will go for pole position. And this is that session, so we'll start in 25 seconds to see who will get pole position for the 50% race around France. While drivers are now selecting their setups, we're jumping straight into the action. Who will take pole position for today's race? We'll see in just 1 or 2 minutes time as the timer ticks down, and we'll start our hot laps here around Le Castellet. We'll jump on board straight with TFL Janssen in his Williams for his lap around Le Castellet. The first corner is a left-right chicane, and he immediately invalidates his lap. First position at the moment is Julian in his Alpine. Let's turn on the telemetry and lap data, and he is flying through this first sector. Luke in the McLaren is looking good as well. You can see it there at times. On the left-hand side, Sven in third position in the Red Bull at the moment. Things can still change though. He's on the soft tires, Julian. He's setting a purple sector 1 and still is leading the field away in this qualifying session. Jerry van Bussel out as he has invalidated his lap. Janssen has invalidated his lap as well, and some people are not looking good at the moment. Sven overtaking Luke on the left hand side, and now Luke is taking back that position. Is it purple for Julian? No, it is not purple for Julian according to the minimap, so things can change when we will go to the finish line. Julian making his way round the fast right-hander, shifting down the gears, 4th gear, now up the gears once again, and through this third sector, this twisty third sector he goes. He doesn't make any mistake whatsoever at the moment, but he loses his rear of his car momentarily. Will that get pole position away from him? Luke goes to second momentarily as Sven and Luke are still battling. Bogle has been disqualified from the session, probably has invalidated his lap. Julian opening the DRS now towards the finish line he goes. Luke is second, Julian is first, and it is a 129.018 for Julian. He takes pole position with only 17 thousandths of a second. Luke, he is in second place, and it's Sven in third position. And it's real close for the top 4. If Yagizan close behind in 5th position, and a lot of drivers have been disqualified from this session for setting an invalidated lap. Black Box has invalidated his lap as well, and we are waiting for him to cross the finish line as he doesn't have enough time to do so. But it's Julian on pole position for the 50% race here around Le Castellet, and that was a cracking session, and it is Julian who takes pole position. The first points of the weekend have been handed out to Julian, and it was so close for pole in the end, 17 thousandths of a second in it. Then Sven in second place, 57 thousandths of a second, 6 100ths. Davey, 16 100ths or 1.5 times down on pole position. And they were closely matched down in the bottom top 10. It is Joey and Joop setting the slowest lap time of anyone that has set a lap time. At least he set a lap time, because that leaves him in P11 on the grid. And let's take a look at the screen now. It is raining at the moment in time, so that means we'll have an exciting race up ahead. Drivers won't start on the soft tires that they qualified on, but they'll start on the wets or the enters. It looks like wet conditions. So we're looking forward to an interesting race, maybe even a wet, dry race. We'll see in just a few moments' time. As we are preparing for the first race of the evening. It will be a 50% race around France, around Le Castellet. And after this race, we'll have another race. And while we are racing the 50% race somewhere, I'll pick it up and explain all about it. Explain all about the second race that we'll have after the first race. But for the first race, the 50% race, normal points will be handed out. So there will be handed out 2 points for the fastest lap, which is standard in TFL, and the usual points system that you know from Formula 1. So 25 points for P1, 18 for P2, 15 for P3, and so on. So nothing unusual about the amount of points that will be handed out after this race. And let's take a look at the standings at the moment. At this moment in time, Jerry van Bussel is still leading the championship. Yagizan in P2, 37 points, is only 2 points down on Jerry. In P3 is Damiano, 35 points. Davy in P4 with 30, and Julian currently on 29. He scored 2 points already in this session by getting that pole position. So by the looks of it, Black Box, Shane, Borrell, Janssen, Noah Jones, Henry, and Jerry did not set a lap time in that qualifying session, be it invalidated or crashing out of the session. All other drivers have set a lap time, and they can all start from the top 11. Julian making his way round the final corner now, as we are getting ready to start the race. And it looks like wet conditions. Let's look at the different tires. Everyone's on the wets, so it is definitely a wet weather race now. And we are waiting for the cars to line up on the grid. It's Julian in the Aston Martin, Luke in the McLaren, and Sven in the Red Bull, again having a good position in a race. Hopefully he can convert it to a good position in the end as well. As the last car has lined up on the grid, the Alpine of Henry is now slotting into his good position as we are getting ready for the race to start. Julian is on pole for 5 lights on now as we wait for the lights to go out. The lights are now out and Julian gets a good start, and it's Sven in the Red Bull who got an even better start than the McLaren of Luke. He's already alongside him going into turn 1. Can he get the second place? Already no, he can't. Luke makes his way around the outside of the Red Bull, so he holds on to his position. Then Fruitful and Charles battling it out in P5 and P6. It's almost 3 wide going into turn 3, and Charles in P5 hangs on to the top 5 position. Frankie meanwhile in the Alfa Romeo overtaking Fruitful. Is Fruitful getting straight back at Frankie? He now overtakes him going into the end of the first sector. It's still Julian leading, Luke second, Sven third, but not for long as Sven is alongside Luke. And can he overtake Luke going into the chicane? Luke's brake later than Sven, and he goes around the outside and he keeps hold of that second place. Sven gets a good acceleration though coming out of that chicane. Can he now overtake him? going into the fast right-hander. There's yellow sector 2, and that is because of the Haas of Joey. And now Sven making his way around the inside of Luke. He has overtaken the McLaren driver, as straight in goes Davey in the Mercedes. He goes down the inside of both drivers. Davey going into second place, as Sven now gets back at the Mercedes driver, back into second place, and he bumps the the Red Bull Davey. The Mercedes of Davey momentarily hitting Sven, as Davey seems to be having a problem turning in, as the McLaren of Jerry van Bussel, the championship leader, is off the track and now is going back onto the track. He made a mistake, someone made contact, but he is now further down the field. Charles has closed up to Luke. He is now in 4th position. So Luke losing out on 2 positions at the start. And where is Fruitful? Fruitful was in that battle, and he is now in P14 and battling with Joop. So what is he doing? He probably made a mistake. Someone made some contact. He makes even more contact. It looks like he has damage, because he can control that AlphaTauri as well as he could do normally, it seems. So probably Fruitful having some damage and having to pit early for a new set of tires. Let's go on board with Frankie. He's very close to Charles. The light blinking at the back of the Aston Martin is not because of the low amount of ERS, but because of the rain lights now. And Frankie going a bit wide. That can't force Ball into an overtake. He stays behind the Alfa Romeo in the Ferrari. Julian already 1 second gone, as Frankie now gets a 3-second time penalty. Noah Jones, oh Noah Jones, no! He's out! Noah Jones in the Mercedes is out. Might that result in a safety car? It is a virtual safety car at least. Will that result in some action in the pit lane? So let's go on board with Julian. What will he do? Will he remain on those wets? Yes, he will. This virtual safety car won't change into the normal safety car, so it's still a virtual. No one is boxing at the moment. And I'm curious, what will Fruitful do? He will continue, so he might not even have damage. Does look like he's struggling with this car at the moment. As we're going on board with Sven, who's now 5/10 within Julian. And it looks like it's closed up to the Alpine, as now there is starting to take gap. The gap is now at 2.0. So the gap flexing a little bit. Now it's 1.9. It was a few seconds ago 0.5, as we're waiting for the virtual safety car to end and to resume racing here at Le Castellet. Virtual safety car in lap 3 because of a crash from Noah Jones in the Mercedes. So that means he will start in P18 for the 25% sprint race, as we are green again. And we're on the way. Frankie gets a good restart. Can he overtake Charles? No, he can't. As a Red Bull immediately out. It's Black Box. He's out of the session. What has happened to him? He is in P17 and he will remain in P17, as Frankie almost lost his Alfa Romeo. He's pushing the ERS. Might he be overtake to overtake Charles? Might he be trying to overtake Charles? No, he won't. As Charles almost loses his car, but he keeps control of it. Frankie can't make a move on the Aston Martin yet. They are struggling on those wets in these conditions. This twisty third sector, Ball behind, 3.5 temps. Can't make a move as of yet. And a lot of drivers still remaining in the same positions that they ended lap 1 on. It's Julian now, 150.7 in the Alpine, fastest lap of any driver in these wet conditions. And there's beginning to form a gap between Charles and Luke. The gap between them is 2.1 seconds, and now Jerry van Bussel, 150.3, fastest lap of the race. He is now the fastest driver in these conditions. our championship leader, but he is all the way down the field. So that means he won't score any points for his fastest lap. Behind Henry, Ono and Yagizan. Yagizan P8, Ono in P9, Henry in P10. Well, meanwhile, Jerry van Bussel moves up the grid one position. He's in P14 now. Looks about Borrell because he's on the rear of Frankie. Frankie can't get past Charles. Might Borrell be able to move up the grid and overtake Frankie on this lap? He's pushing his ERS to Ferrari. Might he be able to make the move as Frankie almost loses his Alfa Romeo? Borrell can't make the move in the Ferrari. He will go down the inside now though. Will the Alfa Romeo leave room? Yes, he will. But there was no chance of an overtake there. But at least Borrell attempted an overtake. And he's still 2.5 tenths within Frankie. While Ono on the rear of Yagizan, might Ono be able to go for a move into the final corner? No, he won't, but he is literally on the gearbox of the Ferrari. Meanwhile, Julian 144.5, so it's the fastest lap of the race now after the virtual safety car. Frankie made a mistake. Frankie making a mistake, and that means Borrell is able to move up the grid. Borrell into P6. And can Yagizan put some pressure on Frankie as well, as Charles gets a 3-second time penalty. Yagizan in P8 isn't able to overtake Frankie now. And the gap now is at 6 tenths as the first cars have started to box for the intermediate tires. So might he be able to overtake Charles now? Borrell is able to overtake Charles, and he moves his way up into P5. But how many cars at the end of this lap will box for the intermediate tires? The raining is getting lighter and lighter, it seems. So that is why a lot of cars are boxing. The track, there aren't as many puddles on the track as there were before, as the cars are now going through Signes and through this long right-hander. Let's go on board with Julian. Julian, will he box for the Inters? It looks like it is time to go to the Inters now. Julian continues on. So Julian continuing on his way as Davey now goes into the pit lane, goes a bit wide, but he moves into the pit lane to try to go for the undercut on the intermediates. Luke as well. And a lot of cars are now going to the intermediate tires. Borrell has continued on his way. Not everyone has boxed as of yet. Frankie hasn't boxed as well. He's on the rear of Borrell still. After Borrell took the Alfa Romeo on the previous lap, Frankie made a mistake and that left Borrell into P3. So how much time will those intermediate runners gain on the leaders? Will they gain anything on the leaders? That's the question. And was it a good call to box for the Inters this lap? I think the car that we need to take a close look upon is Davey, because he's gaining massively on the cars in front. Let's take a look at the leader gap. The gap between Julian and Davey is now at 25.7. And that is coming down all the time. Let's go into the chicane with Davey. Davey is now still gaining. It looks like it's a bit stable around 25.7, so we are currently at the crossover point. As the times now decreasing, 25.6, so this is probably the time to box for the Inters. Julian is in the box, as is Sven, so they are boxing. Borrell is into the box as well, so everyone that was still out is now boxing except for Yagizan. Yagizan is continuing on his way on the wet tires, as now Davey is going around this final sector on the Inters. Where will he end up? Will he overtake someone that was in front of him. By that I mean Sven or Julian. We'll see in just a few moments time. The Red Bull now on the right hand side. He has overtaken Sven. Julian is still a bit too far in front, but Davy into second place. So Davy has overtaken Sven in the pit lane. And the same can be said for Luke. Luke back into the podium places as he overtakes Sven after the pit stops. Okay, so the intermediates are definitely faster at this point in time, so Yagizan is losing a lot of time at this moment. And Frankie still behind the Ferrari after the pit stop phase. Taking a look at the gap between Julian and Yagizan, that still remains at 9.8. 9.6, so that is coming down. Yagizan will come back out further behind than he was before the pit stops because of the wet tires being that much slower at the moment. Fruitful picking up a 3-second time penalty as well in 11th position. Janssen still hasn't boxed as well. He boxed for the wets. So he probably made a mistake in the pit stop phase. He boxed for the wet tires. And he's now in P12. Yagizan into the box as well. Will change to a set of new Inter tires. As Borrell is gaining on Charles. And the cars are struggling to keep it on track. Davy into P2, Julian into the lead once again as Davy now sits at the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, 142.7, because he had an entire lap on those Inters and could set a faster lap than the previous lap set on the wet tires. Charles making a mistake coming out of the chicane, a bit of a squirrely back end. Will that give the encouragement to Ball? He hits the rear of the Aston Martin. And they are so close, but a Ball still can't make an overtake. And now Charles going a bit wide. Ball on the power a bit earlier, activating his ERS. Is the Ferrari now able to gain more and more on Charles to overtake going into the chicane? No, he won't. He stays behind the Aston Martin. But coming out of the chicane, Charles makes a bit of a mistake. Can now Borrell put it alongside, going into Senior. He puts it on the inside. The Ferrari overtakes Charles going into Senior, and it was an awesome move. Can Charles maybe come back at the Ferrari of Borrell? No, he can't. He stays behind him. He wanted to put his front end alongside Borrell, but he just couldn't do that, and that was a great move by Borrell, going into the fast right-hander. He moves himself up into P5. After overtaking Frankie a few laps ago, he now overtakes the Aston Martin of Charles to move himself into the top 5. So now Julian says the fast lap of the Grand Prix. Henry going for a move on Ono in the Haas at the final corner. Almost made it work, but Ono defending brilliantly, keeping hold of that 8th position. As this group of cars is now bunching up. Frankie trying to make the move on Charles. As Charles made a mistake. Can he do it going into turn 3? No, he can't. He stays behind a little bit longer as he makes contact with Charles as well. Hopefully he won't have damage for that, as now Ono is on the rear of the Alfa Romeo as Frankie made contact with Charles. And Henry is close behind as well. A bit of a squirrely end as well for Frankie. But I don't see a move happening all too soon in this group on this straight. As the gap between Julian and Davy seems to be increasing all the time. So Julian pulling away. Julian is just controlling this race from the front. And the gaps between P5 and P11 are all under 1 second, so it's just one giant train that we're looking at, where they're all following each other. Not a DRS train, mind you, because it is raining. and in the rainy conditions, the DRS stays shut as Jerry van Bussel now takes up a 3-second time penalty. He's on the last car in this train of cars. There's a yellow sector 3, and that is because of Shane in the Aston Martin. He spun around and he's now in P13. Jerry van Bussel in front of him, trying to catch up to that same train of cars that we were looking at just a few moments ago. Shane now picks up a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, and he has retired from this session. Fruitful, once again a 3-second time penalty. He is at the top 10 at the moment, and that means he will start from provisional pole position in the sprint race. And why is that? That is because the top 10 will be reversed going into the sprint race, as Charles picks up a 3-second time penalty as well. In the case of a dry race, all drivers in the top 10 need to start on the softs as well. So that means from Julian on to Fruitful, all drivers need to start on the soft tire. And Ono is only 1.5 tenths in front of the Alpine of Henry, but Henry can't make a move as of yet. Now Charles goes wide, Frankie goes a bit wide as well. Can Frankie now make a move on the Aston Martin? No, he can't. He stays behind him a little bit longer, but he's pushing the Aston Martin all the way, as Burrow, after overtaking Charles, is pulling away from the Aston Martin. And the group of cars behind would dearly like to do the same as now. The Alfa Romeo of Frankie has spun around. He does a reset to track. He will get a penalty for that, I'm sure. And looking at Charles and the Alpine of Henry, Charles is relegated down one position once again as he now moves into P8 as Henry overtakes Charles going into P7. Fruitful makes his way around the outside of Yagizan in the Ferrari as well. He's pushing his ERS Yagizan in the Ferrari, but he stays in front of Fruitful. That was a good battle between them, as now Charles goes a bit wide at the end of Sector 1 as well. Looking to Charles, he is being pushed all the way in this race, as it looks like the clouds are getting brighter, and that means dry conditions are on the way, hopefully, for some drivers here. Joey gets a 3-second time penalty. Henry does as well. He's in P7, so he will be relegated down a few positions as it stands. Now Yagizan pushing his ERS. Might he be able to overtake Charles going into the fast right-hander? He's a little bit too far back. Yagizan only on 5% of ERS. Charles, last lap, going a bit wide. Yagizan trying to go around the outside this time. Can't make the move work. Can he go to the inside of the next left-hander? No, he can't. He's trying to go around the outside. Charles defending brilliantly though. But he loses the rear of his Aston Martin a little bit. And Yagizan is closing up every second of this race, as now Yagizan tries to go around the outside of the final corner. He's on the gearbox of the Aston Martin. Let's go on board. But Fruitful, he sees it all happening in front of him, as now Yagizan is in the slipstream of Charles. Can he go towards the inside for the first left-hander? No, he makes contact with the Aston Martin, and he spun around, and he makes contact with Fruitful as well. Fruitful is regaining the position off track, which is legal because he was involved in an incident, but that means Yagizan has made contact with Charles. Frankie moving back into P9, and Fruitful, an unlucky bystander in that incident. Did Charles leave enough room for Yagizan, or was it Yagizan's own fault for going a bit too wide into that corner? Well, now Frankie locks up, and as you can see, the conditions are still like rain, so we're not thinking about a box to the dry tires as of yet, as Charles loses a lot of time going through Senior. Now going a bit wide once again through the following right-hander. Frankie looking for that overtake. Charles going a bit wide once again. He's going all over the track, Charles. And what is Frankie gonna do? Is he sitting behind much longer? Because now Charles is going into the pit lane. Where is he going onto? Will he go onto a new set of the Inters? He retires in the pit lane. So Charles retiring in the pit lane out of nowhere. What did he do in this race? So Frankie moving up to P8, Fruitful in P9, Jerry van Bussel in P10. And after Charles' retirement, he will start in P15 for the next race. Looking at front, because we haven't checked upon the leaders in a long time. Luke is still 1 second behind Davy, 7/10 to be exact. There isn't any DRS whatsoever, as there's yellow sector 1. That is because of the Aston Martin retiring on track. As now, Janssen and Joey are battling it out for P13. The wooden spoon in this race. As Janssen can't overtake the Haas in the first sector. Might he be able to put on a move going onto the Mistral Straight? Now Joey gets a bad exit coming out of the first sector, and Luke had to move out of the way. That looked a bit clumsy all over. And Joey and Luke are now side by side going into the chicane. Joey brakes a lot earlier than the Williams, as now Luke moves his way up into P13. Henry closing up behind Ono, and Sven is looking to regain that podium position that he was in just a few laps ago. He's currently in P4, would dearly like to move up to the podium places. Currently he's in P4. And the rain still going strong here. I think we won't see a switch to the dry tires in the coming 5 laps, certainly. Still looks a bit too wet for that. Luke is gaining a lot of time on Davy. Davy only having 29% of ERS left at the end of the Mistral Straight. Luke having around 40% of ERS left, almost 50 now. And he is pushing Davy all the way for P2 in this race. Julian is gone. He's in P1. He's almost 7 seconds in front of Davy. So it's just a damage limitation for everyone behind in the championship. Jerry van Bussel, meanwhile, moves himself up into P10, and that means he will start from provisional pole position in the race, the sprint race following this race. But he has a time penalty which might move Yagizan up into pole position. Julian once again sets the fast lap of the race. He's on a roll in this race. Amazing job by him. Still closing up behind that Mercedes all the time. Still no time penalty, as Fruitful and Frankie were off track momentarily. Fruitful maybe trying to go for a move on Frankie, as now he is going into turn 1. He goes down the inside in turn 1. Can he make a move on Frankie going into turn 1? Frankie still side by side. Can Fruitful go back? Can switch back on Frankie? No, he can't. Fruitful is pushing his ERS. Let's look at Frankie. Frankie is looking behind him, and he sees Fruitful still in P9. Jerry van Bussel, meanwhile, in P10. And Yagizan in P11 have closed up massively. So Fruitful real close into turn 1. Not quite close enough for the overtake, as he's now pushing his ERS. So is Fruitful though, but he stays behind the Alfa Romeo for now. But that was a good battle for P8, and I'm sure there's more to come in this battle. Frankie going a bit wide into the chicane, and Fruitful probably got a track limit at the chicane. So neither driver taking that without any mistake, as now Jerry van Bussel is pushing his ERS and is trying to get past Fruitful as there's a yellow flag. Who is that for? That looks like it's resolved anyway. So that was a yellow flag that didn't take too long to be resolved. And now Fruitful tries to go down the inside of Frankie. He stays behind the Alfa Romeo for now. Still, as Jerry van Bussel tried to make a move on Fruitful, Janssen gets a 3-second time penalty. Jerry van Bussel still in P10. It's very close behind Fruitful. Fruitful is not pushing his ERS, now he is. Frankie pushing as well. You regain a lot more ERS in these wet conditions, as the drivers are finding out. Van Bussel just a few temps behind the AlphaTauri driver. He remains in P10 for now. Gap between Davy and Julian has stabilized. Is now at 6.8. Frankie making a mistake. Might give encouragement to Fruitful to go for an overtake. Frankie losing a rear, going onto the Mistral straight, as now Ono moves its way up into P5. He overtakes Borrell for the final position in the top 5. Now let's go back to Fruitful. He can't overtake Frankie and he stays behind him. As Sven also real close to Luke. Still Yagizan real close to the back end of the McLaren. Now the McLaren is trying to make a move around the outside of Senior this time. Can he make the move on Fruitful? Oh, he makes contact with Fruitful. He can control the car, Fruitful. He keeps it on track. But was that a bit of a silly move by Jerry van Bussel? He moves up into P9 anyway. So let's look at what the stewards will have to say about that. But going around the outside of Senior, that was a great move. Now Fruitful trying to go down the inside of the final corner. No, he won't. He needs to defend against Yagizan though. Coming out of the final corner, Yagizan is only a few temps behind. 1.5 temps. Now Fruitful has no ERS left and moves up into P10. No, Fruitful is not even using his ERS, so he let past the Ferrari driver. He's now into P11, Fruitful. Yagizan into the top 10. Yagizan will move up a few positions after the race because of time penalties as it stands. Behind Fruitful is Jupe in P12, 25 seconds behind. Now Jerry van Bussel makes a mistake coming out of sector 1 onto the Mistral straight. Can't make a move on Jerry van Bussel. He stays behind the McLaren. He once again, he likes to go wide into that chicane. Probably not the ideal line to take over there. As now Joey has moved on to the soft tires. What on earth is happening here? He'll have zero grip on those tires, I can tell you. It's still raining pretty hefty in the race. Yeah, he has zero grip on those softs. Good effort, but you'll not be able to overtake someone with that tire. As now the battle for PA is happening here on screen. Frankie makes a mistake. Jerry van Bussel is invited to overtake Frankie. Jerry going a bit wide, trying to go for the overtake. He can't make it work, but can Yagizan make the switchback work? Yes, he can. Yagizan, awesome move from the Turkish driver, moves up into P9. Fruitful behind. Can he overtake Jerry van Bussel as well? No, he can't. So Yagizan into P9. Now he will try to overtake Frankie, as all drivers before him did. Fruitful wasn't able to overtake him. Jerry wasn't able to overtake him. Will Yagizan be able to overtake him? I tell you, he's already trying to overtake Frankie now. Into the end of the first sector, as Frankie is a bit out of shape coming onto the Mistral straight now. And the gap between the drivers is only 2.5 temps. It's yellow sector 2 and sector 3. That is because of Joey on those soft tires. He has been left by most of the field. Yagizan only 6% of ERS left, so Frankie is using a bit of his ERS to defend against Yagi-san. Frankie getting a bad exit once again. Yagi-san on the rear of the Alfa Romeo, and Jerry van Bussel, by pushing a little bit of ERS, is almost trying to overtake the Turkish driver. Now he's on the rear of the Ferrari. Can he go for a move into this right-hander? He moves alongside the Turkish driver. Yellow sector 3 once again because of a spin of Joey. Now Jerry van Bussel, World Championship leader, trying to go for the inside on the Ferrari. He can't make the move work, but he's really trying to get alongside him now. He's still alongside him, and he has overtaken the Ferrari driver, but still Yagi-san trying to go around the outside. He moves into the final corner ahead of the Turkish driver. Let's go on board with him, and you'll see Jerry van Bussel is in front of him once again. Good move by the McLaren driver, as he now once again tries to push to overtake Frankie. And no one has been able to overtake Frankie, so amazing job by Frankie trying to defend his P8. Fruitful, also 5 tenths back, isn't in this battle directly at the moment, but things can change pretty soon, as now the cars are bunching up once again at the end of the first sector. Almost Fruitful losing his car, and is now 6 tenths behind Yagi-san. Now this combo with Yagi-san, only Jerry van Bussel, by pushing a little bit of his ERS, is gaining on Frankie massively. Still remains behind the Alfa Romeo driver. Once again Frankie goes a bit wide and out of the chicane. He is a little bit out of shape. That is a better exit for Jerry van Bussel. He won't push any ERS at the moment, so he'll not go for an overtake into Senior, but the gap is only at 1/10 of a second. Will he go for a move into the double right-hander? The track is drying up all the time. I'm not surprised if we'll see any of these drivers box for the soft tires now, because the track is drying up so rapidly as Jerry van Bussel tries to make a move around the outside now of the hairpin. He moves off the track a little bit as he almost loses his car on those inters, and he moves himself up into P8. Was forced out by Frankie. Now Frankie dives down the inside of the final corner and moves himself back up into P9 momentarily. Jerry moves himself up into P8 as Yagi-san overtakes Frankie now as well. So Frankie losing 2 positions in the span of 2 corners and is relegated down to P10. Hopefully for Jerry, the stewards can do something about that penalty. He needs to send in some evidence about what happened and an explanation. But his 3-second time penalty might still be able to be removed. Now the question is, when will the drivers start to box for the soft tires? When will the DRS be enabled for these drivers? As now Frankie gets a bad exit coming onto the Mistral straight. Fruitful is pushing his ERS into the chicane. They go, and still Fruitful behind Frankie. 2.5 tenths behind Henry and Borrell as well. And he remains behind Borrell in the Alpine. A good recovery drive from Henry, coming from P17 I think it was. And he's now in P7, so making up 10 positions. Let's look at the most positions gained. He has 10 positions by Henry and Jerry van Bussel as well, as now Jerry van Bussel is overtaken by Yagi-san on the outside. No, he isn't, as Fruitful and Frankie go off track, both of them. And now the Alfa Romeo driver trying to go around the outside, still hanging on around the outside. That's a little bit of contact, as now Davey gets a 3-second time penalty. That will be very bad for his result, as Luke and Sven are both in that window of 3 seconds. That might be that might lose Davey 2 positions, as Jerry van Bussel now lets past Yagi-san into turn 1. That might be a bit of strategy and games going on here. Henry still on the back of Borrell, still no DRS enabled. Janssen has pitted. He is going onto the soft tire. Jerry van Bussel going off track momentarily. And doesn't get the best exit coming onto the Mistral straight. Frankie is looking in front of him. He is pushing the ERS. Let's go on board with Jerry. Jerry is also pushing his ERS, so that won't give Frankie a chance going into the hairpin. As the moment for the softs is not far away. And still the battling going on in this train. The pit stop phase might change that order altogether, depending on the time that they're all boxing. Vezel still following Yagizan. Yagizan making up the most positions in this train, as Ono is now boxing. He's gambling and going onto the soft tires a bit early, and hopefully for him that is the right choice. But looking to Janssen, he's on the softs. He spun around going out of the first sector, going onto the Mistral straight, as he now loses his front wing as well. And that seems like he is struggling on those softs. There's a virtual safety car, so the drivers in the pit lane are now gaining a lot of time by boxing early. Ball on those inters. Ono on the softs. Is this the right tire to be on? That is the question. And we'll see in just a few moments' time if this was the right choice. Janssen struggling on the softs, spinning on the Mistral straight. It looked like he had some problems on that tire. So I'm very curious to see if this was the right choice for all the drivers that pitted just a few moments ago. And all the drivers in the train chose to box. Yagizan, Fruitful, Jerry, Frankie, Joop also in the pit lane, Janssen on softs, Joey on the inters, as Davey and Luke are boxing under the virtual safety car. Julian is continuing on the inters. What is Henry doing? Henry on the inters now, as Julian gets a drive-through penalty. Julian gets a drive-through penalty in P1, and that means he'll have to box without switching to the soft tires. And I thought for a moment that I saw that the DRS was enabled. This leaves Davey in the best position possible if the track is dry enough for the soft tires. It looks like he has enough grip to make the softs work. He is gaining on Julian. Yes, he is gaining. So that leaves Davey in the provisional lead of this race. Amazing job by Davey, staying out of trouble, boxing for the softs at the exact moment of time that they needed to. And Julian, with his drive-through penalty, will need to box this lap and box the next lap to try to switch to the soft tires. He has zero grip on those inters. He has thrown his race away from pole position. Oh, that is such a bad feeling. He had it all under control and throws it all away. He will now box in lap 23 to go on to, no, not go on to a set of softs. He will go in the pit lane and straight out of the pit lane for his drive-through penalty. Probably was just a few thousandths of a second in the negative. Joey now gets a 30-second time penalty. Frankie moves his way up the grid as Jerry has boxed for the hard tires. So that was probably not the best choice for Jerry. Probably made a mistake somewhere when selecting his tire compound. Now is trying to make the move on Frankie once again, going into the right-hander. That won't work because Frankie has the best tires, has the faster compound, and probably will struggle to keep within range of Frankie. Ono now sets the fast lap of the race, 36 point now. Now Jerry is boxing. as Borrell is getting ever closer to Henry. Yagizan 136.2. Julian still in the lead of the race, but that lead is going away in just a few moments' time. Davy is gaining on Julian in the Alpine. Julian doesn't have any ERS left whatsoever as well. Julian on those inters is now passed by Davy in lap 24 in this race. Julian won't give him any room whatsoever, trying to go through the inside into Senior, and now Davy is in the lead of the race, has overtaken Julian. And Julian needs the box for the soft compound. He will be overtaken by Luke in just a few moments time, going into this left hand hairpin. Sven will do the same in just a few moments time. Julian just a few seconds in front. Will lose out massively, will probably come out behind Yagizan, as he now is into the pit lane. That leaves Davy in the lead of the race with Luke close behind. Remember, Luke doesn't have a time penalty, Davy does have a time penalty, so that will prove crucial for this race. Where will Julian come out after his pit stop? Ono now into P4. Borrell is now into P5 as he sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix as well. Julian will come out just in front of Yagizan. So he lost 6 positions by taking that drive-through penalty. And now he's in P7 from a 7-second lead. He's now in P7. And now is the battle for the lead going on between Davy and Luke. Luke, as we said, doesn't have the time penalty, will win this race if things stay as they are. Sven is 2.7 seconds behind Luke, which means Davy will only lose 1 position instead of 2 positions. As gaps now all around 2 and 3 seconds, as we are nearing closer to the end of the first race here around France. Here around Le Castellet, it has been a race with changing conditions, that Davy now sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, 33.4, as Sven immediately improves upon that, 33.2. A race of changing conditions, and some drivers have used those conditions to the maximum. Davy, one of them, but only a 3-second time penalty now will stop him from finishing in P1 as well. Luke is looking good for the lead of the race, as now Sven gets a 3-second time penalty and definitely throws his chances for the win away now. Yagizan gets a 3-second time penalty as well. Yagizan didn't make any mistake for a long time and now makes a mistake. Julian is very fast in P7 and overtakes his teammate for a P6. So Julian back up 1 position and tries to go for the fastest lap of the race. Might he be able to close up to Borrell as well? Julian doesn't have a time penalty, Borrell does have a time penalty. So as it stands, he'll move up into P5 after the checkered flag. Julian having rapid pace, it seems, on the softs. And especially in the 3rd sector, he's gaining a lot of time on Borrell in front of him. Fruitful now another 3-second time penalty. I think he has 9 seconds already. Let's look at the different time penalties. This is 12 seconds already for Fruitful, 3 seconds for Davy, Sven and Yagizan. All the other drivers have more than 3 seconds. Julian sets a fast lap of the race at 1:30, it looked like. Let's go to the fastest lap. Yes, it is 30.7. That's 1.7 seconds faster than Davy is. That's 1.3 seconds faster than Janssen, who set the fastest lap of the race just a few moments ago. Borrell is only 1.6 in front of Julian. Julian is pushing so hard in this race, and now Luke is pushing as well to gain more time on Davy, but it won't matter for him. He will take the checkered flag in second place on the road, but that won't be his position after the time penalties. Luke, who judged the conditions very well in this race. Davy, who judged them even better, had a better race, but took a 3-second time penalty, wins on the road. But Luke wins his first race in TFL in the McLaren, and is the winner of the 50% race here at Le Castellet. Davy finishes in second, and Sven finishes in third in the end. And that is our top three. Anno comes home in fourth position as Julian, after the time penalty have been applied, comes home in fifth position. Then it's Borrell in P6, Yagizan in P7, Henry in P8. And Fruitful, he has 12 seconds, so he'll probably move down one position. Yes, he moves down into P10, and he knows exactly what that means. He'll start from pole position in the sprint race. He tried slowing down for the checkered flag because he wanted to start on pole for the sprint race, but he had enough of a gap to Frankie to still start on pole position. So it's Frankie alongside him on the front row for the sprint race, and Luke and Davy starting on row 5, P10 and P9 respectively. So that was the 50% race here around the Castellet. And driver of the day, Henry, he was in the end P6 on the road, and he gained a lot of positions during this race. As Luke wins here at Le Castellet. And let's look at the results. So Luke wins from Davy, Sven in P3, Anno in P4, Julian in P5, then it's Borrell in P6, Yagizan in P7. P8 is for Henry, P9 for Frankie, and Fruitful in P10, who will start on pole position for the sprint race. Jerry van Bussel, our championship leader, is in P11, won't score any points, which means he probably lost the championship lead this race. P12 is for Joop in the Williams, P13 is teammate in the Williams, P14 is for Joey in the Haas, P15 Charles, who had retired in the pit lane a few laps into this race, Shane, who retired as well, P17 for Black Box, and P18 for Noah Jones. As we get ready for race 2 here at Le Castellet, a sprint race, 25% around the French circuit. We'll be back in just a few moments time. So take a popcorn, take some chips, take some drinks, and get ready for the sprint race, which I'll promise you will be worth waiting for. So we'll be back in just a few moments time. Welcome back, everyone. We are getting ready for the sprint race here around the Castle. It's a 25% race, so half the distance that we just had in the 50% race. And everyone inside the top 10 needs to start on the soft tire as per regulations. We are waiting for 22 more seconds to start the sprint race, and we'll promise you it will be an event where anything can happen. Last race, we had a wet to dry race where a lot of strategies unfolded, a lot of drama unfolded for the race leader, and consequently for the drivers behind. And this race is wet as well. It's a wet session once again. Well, that certainly is interesting. The drivers have had practice in the previous session. So we're just waiting for the cars to start their formation lap, and they are on the way. Fruitful in P1 finished last race in P10, so that means he can start from pole position. Frankie in P2 in the Alfa Romeo had a good battle with Fruitful in the last race. That is why he is starting in P2. He just finished in front of Fruitful in the previous race. That means he is starting behind Fruitful this race. Same can be said for Henry and Jagizel. But in P5, Julian, a long-time race leader from the previous race, is in P6. He has a good chance of winning this race if he can find the same pace that he had the previous race. So, which tire is everyone on at the moment? Let's look at the tires. Everyone once again on the wets. So we'll have 13 laps around the Castle as Henry in P3 has left the session. What has happened to him? I think his connection just cut out. He's in P3, and hopefully for him he'll be able to get back into the session as fast as possible. Damiano in P19. He's back into the session. He wasn't in time for race 1. Now for race 2. He is back once again. Fruitful coming around that final corner. As a few cars overtook him on their formation lap. But still, Fruitful is the first driver to line up on the grid. He is in pole position for the sprint race. As we look off board with Jagizel, where you can see the 5 red lights pretty well. Now, Damiano is finding his grid position as we wait for the race to get on the way. A new era for TFL. We are waiting for the lights to go on for the sprint race around the Castellet. It's 3, 4, 5 lights on now. And the lights are out. Henry hasn't joined back into the session. And Frankie gets a good start, but not a good start. Capello, no! Frankie, after having a good start, now crashes out at the start of the race. Yagizan tries to go for the move on Fruitful and has passed Fruitful. No, it was Yagizan who is behind Fruitful, and Ball moved up into P1. Janssen gets a 5-second time penalty for a collision with Shane. And Ball had an amazing start. I think it was from P5 and now is in P1. And the Alfa Romeo of Frankie, what a dreadful start from him. He's in P19. And the safety car, the full safety car is out. And just in time, Ball made the move on the AlphaTauri. So he's now leading. And it's a Ferrari 1-3 at the moment. Where is Julian? Julian is at the back of the grid. He doesn't have a front wing. So he made contact with Frankie. And that leaves him at the back of the grid. So he'll have to box, most definitely, for a new front wing. And we talked about him and said that he is someone to look out for the win this race. Not as it stands at the moment. Without a front wing and having to box immediately now, coming out in P18 still, as he is in right now. Yeah, that doesn't look good for the Alpine driver as he goes off track momentarily because he can't steer the car whatsoever. All the other cars are staying out. Except for Joop, he moves up into the pit lane, I think. No, it was Luke and Joop battling it out on track. So what was happening to them? Joop now still behind Luke. Charles and Janssen are also trying to overtake one another. Joey got a yellow flag, ignoring the yellow flag, 5-second time penalty, probably overtook under the safety car. Charles alongside Jerry, not getting past Jerry, but showing that he is there. And the safety car might be out longer than we have racing laps in this sprint race, as already 1.5 laps were completed on the safety car. Hopefully for us, the safety car will move into the pit lane as fast as possible. Joop, meanwhile, into the points. He hasn't been into the points all season long. He's currently in P9 in the Williams, just behind Luke, our previous race winner. Does he have the pace to get back? He needs to get past Sven for that. Sven has shown some great pace around here. And Davey, who finished P1 on track in the previous race. So he'll have a hard time getting past those two, definitely. Safety car is still out on track and probably won't go into the pit lane for now. Let's go on board with Julian because he is now getting back to the pack. Move through Senior, and he is now behind Damiano in P18 on the grid. Safety car is still staying out. No message of the safety car coming in this lap. And then we'll have some facts about this circuit. Paul Ricard came back onto the calendar in 2018 after the French Grand Prix was absent from the F1 calendar for a few years, as Janssen now heads into the pit lane. Let's go on board with Janssen. Will he go on to Inters? 2018 and 2019, those races had been won by Lewis Hamilton, both of them. For then, during the Corona pandemic, in 2020 there wasn't a French Grand Prix. And in 2021, the race was won by a strategic masterclass by Red Bull and Max Verstappen. And before Paul Ricard, Formula 1 raced at the Magny-Cours circuit a few years prior to the race happening in Paul Ricard 2018 once again. It wasn't the first time the Formula 1 circus came to Paul Ricard though. In the past, they have raced here, but at a well, an older version of the circuit, let's say. The circuit has been updated a lot in the time that Formula 1 was absent, and became like more of a testing circuit. Definitely is more of a racing circuit now, but it was for a long time a testing circuit. The Shaw gets a 5-second time penalty for a collision with Jerry. Hopefully for them it can be removed. Both of them have that 5-second time penalty. And looking at Janssen, he moved on to the Inter tires, and the safety car is in his lap. So we'll find out if that was the right choice for Janssen. That move might move him into the lead of the race if the Inters become the better tire in just 1 or 2 laps time. As Fruitful and Ball got a 5-second time penalty because of a collision under the safety car. And that might turn the race upside down, because if they have the box and it can't be removed afterwards, then they'll lose a lot of time in this race. Now let's look at Ball. He'll pace the field. Fulfil just revving his car a little bit. Ball isn't going onto the power as of yet. Now exiting the final corner, and it looks like he's going onto the power now. Yes, he is. No, he isn't. Now he is though. Ball onto the power, and Yagizan is on the power as well. Charles has pitted from his original position. Probably is going to Inters or is removing a penalty, as now Henry loses a lot of position because he hasn't rejoined to the session. Duke losing a lot of positions as well on the restart and is now in P10. Shane moving into P10 now momentarily, and he is past Joop in the Williams. He's now in P10, Shane, and moves himself up into the points paying positions. Gary van Bussel also moves past Henry, and it's yellow sector 1 and sector 2. And where is Janssen on the Inters is in P15. He has overtaken Joey, Damiano and Charles. Charles, of course, making the pit stop at the start of the safety car, as now a car goes off track. That's Joop in the Williams. Noah Jones moving around the left hand side, and Julian around the right hand side. As now it's a Ferrari 1-2 after Yagizan overtook Fruitful going into Senior. We missed that move. Can Fruitful though move back on the Ferrari? No, he can't. Oh no, close behind as well. Might he be able to go for a move? No, he's a little bit too far back, as Blackbox and Henry are exchanging positions. Henry is tumbling down the order still, as Sven makes a mistake, and Luke, our previous race winner, trying to go around the outside of the Red Bull of Sven. Can he go around the outside? Yes, he can, but Sven still hanging on in there. But Luke moving his way up into P6. Fabulous move by Luke in the McLaren, but still Sven is in the slipstream and trying to get past. He can't get past. Yellow sector 2, that is at the end of the first sector. Fruitful getting a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting in the first sector. That probably can't be removed as someone goes off the track. It is Fruitful. 10-second time penalty for going off the track. He gives back the position to Yagizan. Probably made a mistake. Hopefully for him that can be removed as well. He's now in P3. Almost loses Salvatore. Keeps it on the road. Oh no. Sees it happening in front of him, but he can't make an overtake on the Salvatore. He's a little bit too far back as it stands. Janssen 1.7 seconds behind Joop. Noah Jones is now trying to make a move on Julian. He's on the inside at the chicane on the Mistral Straight. Can he switch back on the Alpine? No, he can't. As the Aston Martin of Charles probably made a mistake at the end of the first sector and has spun around. Now on his way once again. Luke 1.9 seconds behind Joop. He is not losing that much time. It is raining pretty hefty here, but he might be able to win a lot of positions back if the conditions change to intermediate conditions. Sven and Jerry van Bussel once again exchanging positions. Jerry van Bussel now in P7 as in front. Luke try to move on Davy, can't make it work, but now Davy trying to make the move on Ono into turn 1. He is pushing his ERS, tries to go for the inside on Ono. He is on the inside of Ono, can't make the move. Ono left in the space, but can't overtake him. Davy stays behind. Damiano now sets a fast lap on the wet tires, 43.3. Still, the wets are the tire to be on, as we can see by the fastest laps. Sector 2, yellow flag once again. That is momentarily because I think a car is spun. No, it isn't. It is resolved anyway. Now Ono is behind Fruitful. Davy is behind Ono. And is he going for a move into the chicane? No, he isn't. He stays behind the Haas driver. But accelerating out of the chicane, Davy gets an amazing traction. And he is pushing his ERS and can't get past Ono still. Ono now behind Fruitful. Can Ono make a move on Fruitful going into the right-hander? No, he can't. Can he stick it down the inside? No, he can't. He stays behind still. As Davy now sticks it in the inside and momentarily moved up to P4. Can he now go around the outside of the left-hander? No, Ono stays in front still. And the battle for the podium for P3 in this race is fully on here. Davy now trying to go around the outside. Fruitful going a bit wide. Ono going a bit wide also, and that leaves Davy enough room to go around the go down the inside. He is now up into P4. He moves past the Haas driver and Jerry van Bussel, and Luke also battling it out for P6 on track. Luke now trying to go around the down the inside into turn 1. He can't make the move work, as Luke seems to be losing a lot of time on those inters, so they are not working at the moment. And if the conditions won't change soon, that might leave Janssen in a bad place in P15 without any points. A lot of drivers now going wide. Luke trying to stick it down the inside of Ono. Davy a 3 second, Damiano a 3 second time penalty as his yellow flag once again. I think that's reoccurring every lap, as Charles has retired in the pit lane and is out of the race. And Jerry van Bussel is led past by Luke, his teammate. Amazing teamwork by them. Didn't see that happening. Couldn't see that happening from timings. Luke just braked a little bit earlier than Jerry and led past Jerry, as now Jerry goes a bit wide. Still, he's in P6 now. Fruitful and Davy are battling it out for the final podium position. Youngizan is on course to win this Grand Prix with the time penalty the ball has. Hopefully for him it can be removed and it will still remain a Ferrari 1-2. But we'll have to see if that can happen. Davy now on the rear of Fruitful. Fruitful making a mistake. What happened to him? It looks like he made a mistake on the braking and he goes into the pit lane and he is out of the Grand Prix. Davy now is in P3, Ono in P4, Jerry van Bussel in P5. And that move by Fruitful probably made a mistake while turning into the left-hander and went straight on and then into the pit lane. Saw no other choice than to go into the pit lane. Jerry van Bussel, our championship leader, is still, if we don't count the points from the 50% race, in P5. His McLaren teammate is in P6. Probably won't make a move on his teammates for the sake of the championship and remains behind Jerry. Yellow sector 3. That's a yellow flag on the bottom right hand corner of the screen for nothing. It's Janssen made a mistake on the Mistral Straight, as there's a virtual safety car, so the inters were too difficult to handle and he is out of the Grand Prix. It's a virtual safety car. The gaps will remain the same approximately, and the full safety car will remain in the pit lane. So at the moment, it's a Ferrari 1-2 on track. Looking at the time penalties though, 5 seconds have been added to the race time of Bottle. 10 seconds will be added to Jerry's race time. Probably for making contact under the virtual safety car or the safety car. But we'll look into that after the Grand Prix. Jerry's on a little bit of fuel burning during the virtual safety cars. Now the yellow has been resolved and will go green once again as Jerry immediately tries to make a move on Ono. They make contact. Can Ono hang on to 4th position? They are still real close to each other on track. It's 1/10 in it, but Jerry van Bussel remains behind the Haas driver for now. Still, the wet tire is the tire to be on, but the rain is easing off a little bit. Shane moving up into P8. Almost Jerry van Bussel losing his car, going off track now momentarily. Doesn't get a time penalty for that. Luke is pushing a little bit of his ERS. As there's a full safety car, it looks like. Is there a full safety car? There is yellow 1, 2, and 3. As now Julian almost loses his Alpine after the chicane. It's yellow on the entire track. And that is a weird thing to see. I think this might be a bug in the game as Jerry van Bussel makes contact with Ono once again. Still remains behind the Haas driver though. And if this is a case of a bug in the game, we'll have to work with half points, but now we'll see a green flag on the bottom right hand corner, so I think it's resolved now. Ono going a bit defensive, might leave Jerry van Bussel with a chance going into turn 1. They are so close to one another, and Jerry van Bussel not getting the best traction out of the final corner. Now Luke real close to his teammate. Will he try to make a move once again on Jerry? Jerry faking the move into turn 1. Remains behind Ono. Still. Julian, oh no, Julian! Makes a mistake, and he's out of the race, retires on track, probably gets a time penalty for that as Davey once again gets a 3-second time penalty. If Ono can hurry up in this race, it might give him an opportunity for a podium. Yellow sector 1 is because of the retirement from Julian. And Julian, having a very promising weekend, has thrown it all away himself and is now out of the race. Luke behind Jerry. Jerry once again making a mistake. Luke can't make the move on Jerry and remains behind his teammate. Ono going a bit wide. Can Jerry now put it down the inside? No, he can't. Shane has DNF'd as well. Coming out of senior, and now Jerry van Bussel goes off track momentarily as well. But Shane is out as well. The drama unfolding here in this sprint race. The conditions. It looks like the conditions are good enough for the inters. But will you gain enough time on these inters now for a stop, for an extra stop? So it's probably better at the moment to stay out on the wets, where you'll have a significantly worse pace than on the wet tire. Than on the inter tire. But you won't make the time up with a pit stop. As now Jerry van Bussel once again makes a mistake. Might that give Luke an opportunity going on to the Mistral straight? Jerry van Bussel pretty slow in front of his teammate. His teammate is now pushing his ERS. Is he trying to make a move on Jerry van Bussel? Now they are fighting, the two McLarens. He is in the slipstream and moves to the right hand side. Can he go around the outside of Jerry? No, he can't. Can he switch back? No, he can't. There he goes a bit wide out of the chicane. Luke can't do anything about it. And is still behind Jerry. Jerry running out of ERS, it seems. Yes, he is. He is running out of ERS. Looking at the steering wheel. Because there's yellow once again. I'm not paying attention to that yellow. And their positions have remained the same for a lot of laps now. So for a long time. In the sprint race, 6 people as of yet have retired. Noah Jones only now gets past Shane. Joop in front, still in the points being positioned. Joey is in P11 and Henry and Noah Jones both out. Are disconnected at least. And still Jerry van Bussel in front of his teammate, but does Jerry van Bussel have enough time to enough ERS to defend? He has a 3-second time penalty now as well. And now Luke behind Jerry is pushing his ERS. Jerry still remains in front. Davey gets another 3-second time penalty, and that throws his results away. He's in P3 for now, but that podium will go to Onno if Onno stays close to Davey, and in other words doesn't lose 2.9 seconds in those last 1.5 laps. There he goes wide. His teammate can't go for the move. Now Jerry goes a bit wide and off track. Now his teammate looking for the outside line. Can't make it work. The conditions are worsening and worsening for these wet tires. And now his teammate Luke going around the outside. Can't make it work. Tries to go for the switchback. Can't make it work on Jerry. Once again, Jerry defending brilliantly for P5 in this race. Now he's pushing even more ERS. Luke will go for the inside into turn 1. No, he won't. He faked the move, but he couldn't make it work. Now Jerry almost loses his car on the curb. This is the battle to watch in this race. But Jerry brilliantly defending his position. And Luke can't find a way past him. Frankie has retired from the session. He's in P19. He has a DNF. Anyway, so he was out already. Now is the final opportunity, one of the final opportunities for Jerry to defend his position against Luke. Luke is pushing his ERS. Will he go for a move into the chicane? No, he won't. Jerry stays in front of his fellow teammates. Almost once again, Jerry loses his rear. Luke is now gaining and gaining and gaining. Will he go for a move into the right end? And no, he makes contact! It's drama on this final lap! He crashes out! Sven moves up into P6 after contact with Jerry. And Luke into P7. And now almost overtaken by Damiano and Blackbox as well. He has been overtaken by Blackbox and Damiano. Blackbox and Damiano make contact as well. Blackbox going off track. Damiano was led past by Blackbox. And now let's go to the leaders in this race. Borro is winning on track. He wins on track, but Jagizan crosses the line to win in Season 5. Jagizan in the Ferrari, his first win in the 5th season. And it is a sprint race in France. He didn't cross the line first, but he wins it on time penalties. Onno completes the podium, and Davey in P4 misses out on the podium after the time penalty that he had. And then it's Sven in P5, his teammate Blackbox in P7. Luke, a pretty disappointing result in P7. P8 is for Jerry with 13 seconds worth of time penalties. And Damiano now even even overtakes him. Jari van Bussel got another time penalty, it seemed. That looked pretty weird, but at least he's now in P9. Hopefully for him something can be resolved after the race, but we'll need to see the race director as well for that. But it's Yagizan, the Turkish driver, victorious in the sprint race. It wasn't the spectacle that we were hoping for. Might have been the conditions as well, but it was our first sprint race of the 5th season, and it's a Ferrari 1-2 after the time penalties have been applied. So an amazing 1-2 for the Ferrari team. Then it's Ono in P3, Davy in P4, Sven in P5, Black Box in P6. Good recovery from P17. Luke, disappointing P7. P8 for Damiano, good recovery from him as well. Gained 11 positions this race. Jerry in P9, and P10 is for Joop. He scores some points in the sprint race. Joey in P11, then it's Henry in P12, Noah Jones in P13. P14 is for Shane, he retired in the pit lane. Julian, P15, P16 for Janssen, P17 for Fruitful, P18 for Charles, P19 for Frankie, and those are your results. And we are ending the stream now. Let's have an interview next time once again when we have a normal weekend, but for the sprint weekend we won't have interviews this time round. We'll speak to you next time, and hopefully you'll join us next time as well. I hope you enjoyed the commentary and the race, and we'll see you next week.